Davis, and without objection, these are all entered into the record. And Senator Welch, you are recognized.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rice, it was very nice to visit with you yesterday, and it's nice to see your kids. You promised they were going to be here, and your wife, a couple of your kids. That's great. All of us are kind of amazed you're the cheerful person you are, having survived working for this guy named Cruz from Texas. I'll tell you, it's hard on us, but we can imagine what it's like for the chief of staff. You know, this is
Your time has expired.
You know, to all of you, let me express what is a concern I think many of us have. It's not a Democrat-Republican thing, but there's a profoundly new set of expectations and boundaries in what the executive power is now. We've had decisions by the Supreme Court that gives immunity to the president. I find that shocking. I think a president has to be subject to the law, not above the law. We also have a president who's been very explicit in determined his insistence that it's, quote, my Justice Department. And has also made the statement that if he does it to save the country, it's lawful. That's unique, that we haven't had that point of view embedded, and to some extent, there's some validation with what the Supreme Court is doing and also what the president is asserting. That causes me great concern because I think it really threatens the separation of powers and the co-equal authority of Congress to be a check and balance. And all of you will have major positions that will require you basically to serve the interests of the president. And we all understand that, but where there's a real redefinition of that presidential authority. So I want to ask a little bit about that. I'll ask you, Mr. Rice, you know, I know your tweet was, you were asked about that, can the president basically violate the law? Just tell me where you come from in terms of what the limits are on presidential authority.
Well, thank you, and it was really a pleasure visiting with you and your staff just yesterday. Senator, if I could just clarify, you referenced a tweet in which I said the president has unlimited power?
I'll get to the tweet. I thought Senator Durbin had displayed it. I was told that. You got it? Looking for some Andrew Jackson level leadership on this one. Judge Yackel has made his decision, now let him enforce it. So it's the famous Jackson dictum that we can essentially disregard the decision of a Supreme Court.
Thank you for that, and thank you for clarifying, Senator Welch. So my position reflects a fairly mainstream view within right of center jurisprudential circles, which is simply to suggest that various Supreme Court or Court of Appeals decisions are more limited in scope than maybe our friends who share a different jurisprudential view of Supreme Court holding would suggest.
Well, let's say there is a Supreme Court holding saying that a presidential policy is invalid. You know, but President Trump has said he can do basically anything if it's to save the country. All right, that's his motivation. And that anything would include disregarding the order of the court if in the judgment of the president, his disregarding that order was to save the country.
So, Senator, first, I think I'm not aware of any instance in which President Trump genuinely stated that he can do anything to save the country.
Mr. Sauer, well, I'm asking that maybe it's a hypothetical, but I actually don't think this is a hypothetical in that it hasn't happened yet, but it's a hypothetical based on very explicit decisions, one by the Supreme Court on immunity, another by President Trump's own statements. Mr. Sauer, do you believe the president has the authority in the name of saving the country to disregard a decision by the Supreme Court?
To be clear, I think as I stated earlier, Senator, I have had the privilege of representing President Trump for much of the last 2 years.
I'm not asking that. You know what I'm asking.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm not asking about the privilege you had of serving the president. I'm asking the question, you heard my question. Can the president disregard the order? Because in his opinion, he's acting in a way that will, quote, save the country.
I think the answer that I was trying to give respectfully is that I've represented President Trump for 2 years, and I've never seen anything that would lead me to believe that I'd be put in any situation.
You know what? I get it. You respect him, you like him, he was your lawyer. But I'm not asking about that. I give you that, right. But the president has now asserted that he has the right basically to do what he thinks is necessary to save the country. And I'm asking whether that includes violating a Supreme Court order.
I think I would just refer back to the answers I gave earlier to similar questions from the ranking member.
Well, how about answering my question now that I'm here?
Well, there was a lengthy exchange about that, but again, I've represented President Trump for 2 years. I've never been put in any situation like that, and I don't anticipate being so.
I just got to say, Mr. Chairman, that's a little bit frustrating. I understand that he has a good relationship with the president, respects him, all right, and the president has never put him in that position. But we're in a new situation here. The president is now the president. He's made these statements. There is a real question in emerging unitary executive authority. This is a very serious question that we've never had to face before. Can the president disregard a decision by the Supreme Court? And, you know, I'll yield back, but I want to just express my frustration at not getting a direct answer on what I think is an existential question for this country.
Well, I will note the witnesses did point out that President Trump has been president for 4 years and 1 month now, and he has never disregarded a court order. And we just finished 4 years of Joe Biden routinely disregarding the law, in no instance more flagrantly than concerning our southern border, where he defied federal immigration law and allowed 12 million illegal immigrants to come into this country. And so the hypotheticals that are being posed by our Democrat colleagues, sadly, we have lived in the last 4 years when you have a lawless president who does not follow the statutes passed by Congress and signed into the United States Code. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The credentials of each of you are impressive.